Hi there, this is Leif Gregerson speaking. As some of you may know, some of you may have already seen, I have written a book called Through the Withering Storm, and I'm really having kind of a hard time getting word out about it. If you're interested in having a look at part of it, it can be found at smashwords.com. You can download 15% of the book and have a look. And if you like it, please buy it. If you don't, if you're not interested, no problem. And but basically, I wanted to make this video so that I could read a little bit of the book out loud to people who may not have been exposed to it, or people who may not like to read too much. But the reason I'm making this video as opposed to sending out flyers or whatever is because I want people to know that this is something really important. I wrote the book in hopes of getting more people to understand that mental illness isn't just about one person going crazy and going off on a gun spree or who knows, some terrible crime. Mental illness, it can be that, I'll admit. Some people are psychopathic and they have no emotions. But I want people to understand clearly that when you have bipolar disorder, you're not a psychopath per se. Psychopath is when you have no emotions, you have no morals, you'll do anything, you'll hurt people, you'll destroy people, and you don't care. But often people who have bipolar disorder are quite normal people. They just go into moods and possibly even delusional psychotic episodes. A psychotic episode is something where your brain is just confused and scrambled. You may be hearing voices. You may have hormones or electrical impulses, messed up in your brain. But it doesn't mean you're going to go kill somebody. And quite often, once a person goes on to treatment, as I have, they can do quite well, and they can be just normal people. I've been doing well for 10 years now, and in that time I've written 3 books, accomplished a lot. I've got a great job, but still I must fight and fight and fight against people who don't understand the illness. But here I just want to get on to this reading here before too much time goes by. So I'm just sort of picked at random a passage from my book. It's from the days when I was still going to high school, and basically I went from being in high school to being in a psychiatric hospital to being homeless. And I had a lot of hopes, I had a lot of dreams. I even had a little money. I had a great job when I was in school. I was making a really good wage for someone my age, probably about double the minimum wage. I guess these days it would equal to a kid in school having an $18 an hour job. But here is the story. For the next few days in school, I sat around not doing much, trying to quell rumors that I had gone batty. A good friend of mine who had just broken up with his girlfriend came to visit and needed some comforting. I got him in a good mood by telling him before he knew it he would have another girlfriend and all that, and he was cheered up, and then I started going on about how I needed some drugs. This particular friend had connections but rarely used them, and he knew that I never used that sort of connection. So he was kind of concerned. I kept going on about this and that, mostly making no sense at all, and he took me to the local hospital. I will never forget sitting in that waiting room, not knowing what was going to happen, and my friend being scared or worried out of his wits while I thought nothing bad could happen to me, no matter what. I thought I was indestructible. Little did I know I was about to be introduced to the most horrible, will-breaking place I could ever be sent to, which was Alberta Hospital, Edmonton. Not long after we got to the local hospital, I got in to see a doctor, and a short while later, a couple of police came, held me down, and then I was injected with some vile substance that made my muscles seize up, and I was taken to what seemed like a secret location in the back of an ambulance. And it turned out to be a hospital, and I was locked in a small room, which was locked from the outside with no furniture, and just one window high and out of reach. I had now hit rock bottom. Nothing could be worse than that feeling of being drugged and locked away. I was now officially certified. Most people would think that at this point one would sit down and listen to their doctors, take their medication, and start down the long road to recovery. For me, however, that road was still a long ways off. Something tricky about the illness I have, which is most likely similar in many sufferers of bipolar disorder, is that paranoia and delusions set in. There's no end to the tricks your mind can play on you when you are mentally sick. One of the things I can remember is the staff showing us this movie Total Recall, where Arnold Schwarzenegger is given a memory implant that makes him think he has to go to Mars and kill anyone in his way. The scary thing is that the machine they used in the movie to put the memory into Schwarzenegger's brain is very much like a CAT scan machine. And when a sensitive, young, paranoid mind gets an idea in motion, it's very easy to be realistically have these space science fiction ideas incorporated into your own thoughts. Any type of delusion can be put into a person's mind. You can think you're a secret agent or a hockey player or a great lover, or you name it. Only time and the proper medication can make it all go away. That was what I found in the later years of my illness was so miraculous. Eventually you would get well again after a while, and it was often medication that did it. Still, from this early point, I would suffer a great deal more before things got any better. The ward I was on, that was so horrible, was called 9B South, and it had the distinction of being one of the most violent, filthy, and heartbreaking, will-snapping places in the entire hospital complex. They would literally put you in there. To break your will. If you acted up in any way, if you said anything to the staff, if they just didn't like you, they would put you there, and it was hell. The floors were constantly dirty, the windows were mostly painted shut, and they had greasy handprints on them, marked in the thick smoke stains that were on them. The few windows that were low enough looked out on grounds that were nice, mostly green grass with massive trees and flowers. The grounds only served to make a person feel worse, though, knowing you were in here, not at some picnic or kicking a soccer ball around at the park. The whole ward was a cramped long hallway with rooms on either side, painted in a dingy and cracking eggshell white, with dorm rooms for male and female, a television room with walls coated with nicotine stains, so bad it was hard to tell the original color of the paint. When you went to 9B South, you stayed inside, usually in increments of months or at the very least weeks, rarely getting in a glimpse of the doctors, sucking in that smoke and that institutional air 24/7. Everywhere you went, there was the army of the great unwashed, all wanting one thing and one thing only: cigarettes. I remember one person they brought in. I got to know him later, and he was a pretty nice guy. I guess they had found him somewhere outside with no shoes on. When they brought him in, his swollen and frozen feet looked like they were going to fall off, and he had a large brown paper bag full of $20 bills. He could only walk a couple of steps, and then he would fall asleep standing. But everyone in there were heartbreaking, from the old native guy who kept drawing crude pictures of military equipment and mailing them to the recruiting center, to the young woman who came in because of her addictions, 7 months pregnant. 9B South included half the top floor of a building made for returning World War I soldiers who had gone insane overseas. All the windows had a wire mesh over them through which you could see the grounds but not go out and walk through them. All the doors had ancient and unforgiving locks that would stand up to any patient who tried to get through them. Violence came at you from different directions in that place. If you were rude and uncooperative with the staff, often your punishment would be getting wrestled to the ground, often slammed to the ground, and being injected with a vile concoction that caused a seizure of all your muscles and a general feeling of all-around nausea in the extreme. And then they would just set you free, or if they felt like it, they would put you what they called the side room, which was a white room with a hard floor and a window high and out of reach, and you would sit in there for hours until they felt like releasing you. All of my life, I had thought such things were only in old prison novels or stories of Korean War prisoner of war camps. But here it was happening to me. Only I didn't know who the enemy was. I didn't know what anything was going on.